What does it mean to have your Black Moon Lilith in your third house? Watch this video where I'm going to break down everything you need to know about having a third house Black Moon Lilith. Hello and welcome back to the Be the Hero channel. My name's Isabelle and I help you understand who you are using personality typing and astrology. I was the kind of person who really lacked a sense of self, and this often left me confused about what my desires were and what my direction was in life. Then I discovered the Enneagram, the Myers-Briggs, and my astrology, and so much more. And for the first time in my life, everything about who I was made sense. So now I'm here to teach you about these things so you can understand yourself and these systems as well. Now, before I dive into the Black Moon Lilith, and specifically having the Black Moon Lilith in your third house of communication, hit the link in the description below to get your very own, drumroll please, my horoscope made me do it hoodie. It's a little dirty right now as I'm showing it because I obsessively wear this hoodie every single day and get tons of compliments on it. So get your own My Horoscope Made Me Do It hoodie in the link in the description below while I'm still offering it. Now, before I dive into the Black Moon Lilith in third house, a little bit of background on Black Moon Lilith, because when I started learning about this aspect, I was very confused about, is it Lilith? Is it Black Moon Lilith? Are these two different things? What am I looking for? Am I looking at the right video? The short answer is yes. Keep watching. The Black Moon Lilith is a very popular aspect in our birth chart. And it is represented in our birth chart by a crescent moon, a black crescent moon with a cross underneath it. This represents a point in our chart, not a planetary aspect, but a point which represents the part of us that we feel the most ashamed of, the things that hide in our shadows, so to say. From my understanding, Lilith was the first wife of Adam, and she was a very powerful woman who was very independent. But this didn't necessarily work well with Adam, and so they threw her out of the world and replaced her with Eve, who was much more passive and agreeable. So in our chart, Lilith represents the traits and qualities that we feel most ashamed of, and this is all indicated by the sign your Lilith is in. So I did just cover a whole series covering Lilith through the signs. You can check that out later if you have not yet already. But not only is there a sign that your Black Moon Lilith is in, there's also a house. And the house that your Black Moon Lilith is in will be indicated by your time of birth. So if you do not know your time of birth, you will not know the house it's in, because that will dictate your house placements. So if you have a Black Moon Lilith in third house, this will mean, this shows you where this shame shows up for you. So I like to think of sign versus house, as it's often confusing to learn about. The sign gives the planet or point the theme, the vibe, and the house that your Lilith is in, or the house that any planet is in, shows you where this shows up. There are 12 houses in astrology, and these represent the 12 areas of our life, and each house reflects a theme of the zodiac, but more in the tangible, physical, material reality. So the third house represents and reflects a lot of Gemini themes. Gemini's job in the zodiac is to become curious and take in information. They are ruled by the planet of Mercury. And Mercury, as we know, is all about learning and growing and how we think and how we communicate information. Gemini is said to be the messenger of the zodiac. So in Aries, we're bold, brave, impulsive. Then we learn to slow down in Taurus and just enjoy the five senses. And then when we get to Gemini, we have enough comfort and space in our life to start being curious, using our brain for the first time, asking questions, being inquisitive, and wanting to learn and take in information about our reality. So Gemini is very focused on the ground right beneath their feet, whether that's literally the grass that's growing, the butterflies, or their everyday community. So when we're talking about the third house is all about these everyday communications in everyday places. I hear a lot of people get confused by what exactly the third house represents, but I simply think of it as our everyday communication. And I think when we have something, whether it's a planet or a point, in our third house, it really is a call to focus on how we communicate. Mindfulness at its finest, truly. How do you talk to everyday people? What people do you interact with every day? The third house is all about mindfulness. Mindfulness in your everyday reality. It's about presence. So what does it mean to have your Black Moon Lilith in your third house? Again, Black Moon Lilith is where we hold the most shame, but it's also some of our greatest powers. So people who have a Black Moon Lilith in their third house were likely someone in childhood who was very perceptive. Someone who was very aware of their surroundings, noticed the details, could even have been extremely communicative in some way or another. But because Lilith is also our shame and in a way, what becomes our weakness because we repress it, people who have a Lilith in third house could, in childhood, have issues with communication. They might have had, in very early childhood, a tendency to communicate well, to be observant, to be curious, but at some point in their childhood, they were taught to not focus on these things. And so they repress this natural tendency of perception, of mindfulness, of communication. In extremes, this could lead to being a child who swings extremes of extremely talkative and chatty, and then being extremely reclusive. I've heard people say that this could show up as a tendency to be mute in some ways and not speak at all. It could show up as learning disabilities in some senses, but these are all just extremes to show what the Lilith in third house could show up as, which is, at its finest, struggles and shame around communication. The third house is all about how we communicate in the present moment. It's not about long-term vision. It's not about dreams. It's not about the subconscious. It's about how we notice we speak right now, who we speak to, what we say. So people who have a Lilith in third house have a lot of shame around their everyday communication. And this can, I think, primarily show up as feeling insecure in your words. If you have a Lilith in third house, you likely feel that no matter how you speak, however formal, informal, how much, how little, it's always just wrong, and you hate having to hear yourself, and you feel that people are going to judge you no matter what for how you communicate. The Lilith in third house can also show up as everyday places more so, because not only does the third house Lilith represent our communication every day, it's also about our everyday people and places. So places and people that are often associated with the third house are our neighbors, our relatives, and our siblings, because these are the people we interact with every day. So people who have a Lilith in the third house can likely, growing up or even now, have a lot of shame and struggles that show up commonly every day with how they talk to their neighbors, the people they have as neighbors, maybe even struggles with their siblings. Maybe they have a disconnect with their siblings. Knowing the house that your Lilith is in is extremely important, but you can really only understand what it means to have your Lilith in a certain house if you know also what sign it's in. Because this, again, will show you the themes and what energies you feel shame around. So if you have a Lilith in third house, yes, you're going to have trouble with communication, and you're going to likely feel some shame around your siblings and your neighbors to some extent. But how exactly will this show up? That depends on the sign it's in. So if you had a Lilith in, let's say, Leo in your third house, you likely feel a lot of guilt and shame around any form of confident and courageous speech. You feel that you're supposed to be more tame with your words. You're not supposed to stand out in your everyday community, and you feel like you're supposed to put all the attention on other people instead of what you truly want to do, which is bring attention to yourself. Leo wants to step in the spotlight. This is just one example. If you had a Lilith in Libra in your third house, you could be someone who's naturally diplomatic with your speech and diplomatic with your neighbors and community and everyday siblings, but you feel that you're not supposed to be. The list goes on, so leave a comment below and let me know what sign and house your Lilith is in, and I'll give you a little information on what that means later. But if you're someone who has a Lilith in your third house, you're probably wondering, okay, I notice that that's my shame. I notice I have struggles and shame and insecurity around how I talk and who I talk to and how I interact with people every day. So what do I do about it? The one primary thing I recommend for all Lilith placements, both the signs and the houses, first and foremost, is go and reflect on your childhood and think about that time or times, plural, where you felt that you were not allowed to be communicative or you were shut down for how you spoke or interacted with people. What was your natural tendency? How did you want to interact with people? What is it that you felt you were not allowed to do? And who was it that made you feel that way? Just reflect on these and simply imagine yourself going back to that childhood version of yourself now as an adult and telling them it's okay to be like this. Again, Lilith is not just our shame. It is our biggest strengths. And so people who have a Lilith in third house have a gift of embracing greater forms of communication than anyone else can when they step out of their shame and into their gifts. They can inspire other people with their communicativeness and inspire people in their everyday life for who they are when they learn to embrace their Lilith. So go back to that childhood version of yourself. Notice when you felt shut down and cultivate a sense of healing and do inner child work basically to overcome that. So that's the first thing I recommend people who have a Lilith in third house do. But they should also primarily, as far as action going forward, just start paying attention to your communication style again. When you're talking to people every day, when you're going through life, pay attention to your mind. Any third house placement, if you want to bring awareness to it, is simply by being aware. The third house is all about mindfulness at its finest. So becoming a more mindful person and noticing your thought patterns, noticing how you talk to people, where that's coming from, being just aware of your surroundings, whether that's the birds flying by or if that's how someone's talking or how people feel or just watching the world at large. These are all things that will be healing for your Lilith and will play to your strengths. Again, you have to know the sign that your Lilith is in as well. So cross over with the sign your Lilith is in and start embracing that energy as well, because this will change quite possibly and quite a bit of how you heal your Lilith and start using your Lilith third house gifts. Again, if you have a Lilith Leo third house, you need to heal by being more assertive in your communication and confident and bold and playful. If you have a Lilith in Libra in your third house, you need to start embracing more harmonious, collaborative, and speech styles, being more of a diplomat again. The list goes on, and it depends on your unique combination. If this video helped you understand what it means to have your Lilith in your third house in your chart, let me know in those comments below. And while you're down there, if you have not grabbed the free birth chart workbook yet, grab it now in the link in the description below. This workbook walks through the basic planets and teaches you using journal prompts how to actually apply them to your life. I've personally used these journal prompts and they have helped me rapidly speed up all of my desires in my life because I did not understand at all how to live in alignment with my astrology, and all I did for so many years was read about it all, listen to it all, and do nothing with it. The birth chart workbook is free. It takes less than 15 minutes to do the whole thing likely, so hit the link in the description below to grab it now. If you're someone who likes workbooks and courses, if you are interested in self-development and astrology, chances are you're interested in at least one of those considering you're watching this video, then you need to grab the Making Mindfulness Fun bundle in the link in the description below, where I'm offering all 30 of our workbooks and courses for only $30. That's $1 per course, per workbook, and you have lifetime access to every single workbook and course we have ever created on astrology, Enneagram, mindfulness, self-development, and more. Not only do you get access to the 30 workbooks and courses we've already created, but you are the only person to access any new workbooks we release. They're exclusively made for this bundle. So you're the first to access those. As an example, I will be dropping the Moon Sign Self-Care Workbook very shortly, which walks each moon sign through how to actually practice self-care and understand their moon sign in a fun and simplified way. So you'll get exclusive access to that if you get the Making Mindfulness Fun bundle. Link is in the description below. Check it out now. Get it now while you still can, because I don't know how long I'm going to keep offering it for. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I sincerely hope you enjoyed it. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and stay tuned for more videos breaking down Lilith through the houses. Again, leave that comment below. Let me know what sign your Lilith third house is in. Once again, my name's Isabelle, and from my heart to yours, I bow to you. Namaste.